This is Arts Educators Save the World, where successful artists and their mentors talk about how arts education transformed their lives. Hey, welcome to Arts Educators Save the World, a podcast where artists and their mentors talk about the impact that arts education has had on both their lives. I'm your host, Dr. Erica Halverson. I am a professor of education and the arts at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And along with my co-host, Alek Lev, filmmaker and podcaster extraordinaire, we are so thrilled to be here at a live recording at the Comic-Con Museum. That sounds really good, by the way, on a recorded podcast. Like, it sounds like there's a million people in here. There's a million people in here. There's a million people in here, and that's why it sounds like there's a million people in here. Clearly. Hi, Alek.
Hi, Erica.
Tell the people who you are and what you're doing here. I have said you're my co-host. I've said that you're a filmmaker and a podcaster extraordinaire. What does that mean? Tell the people a little bit about who you are.
Hi, I'm Alek. Hi, everyone. I've made some movies and I make some plays and I produce podcasts. And I keep friends for a very long time. And so these friends that you have here, that may have been your friends for a long time. Erica, do we tell the year that we met, or how many years since we met, or how many presidencies since we've met?
That would require some math for people to calculate how old we actually are. We can just say we've been friends since we were 7 years old.
This is true.
Leave it at that and let the people decide how long ago that was.
Yes.
I see people counting because I did say how old I was earlier today in the workshop, but we've been friends since we were 7 years old.
Yes.
And I wrote a book called How the Arts Can Save Education. And it's about the ways in which making art should transform the way we do teaching and learning across the board. So not just in your arts classes, but in all of the places in your lives where you're doing teaching and learning. And Alek, podcast producer, said, we should spread this good word. How can we do that? And so this podcast was born. And tonight, we're going to talk arts and education with two incredible actors who we have up on this stage tonight. Alek, I'm going to have you introduce our artist, and then I am going to introduce their mentor.
Wonderful. So we're going to start out with Owyn Taylor over here, stage right. And he'll talk more about himself and how he got up on this stage and just exactly how nervous he is to be on it. But he did tell me that his origin story is fairly simple. He was in the Navy for 12 years. So first, we thank him for his service.
Respect.
And then he said something to me that no one's ever said to me. He said, then I decided to leave the Navy and become a voiceover actor. And so we're going to have to understand how that transition came to be. And that is partially why he is here with us today. And so welcome, Owyn.
Yes. And a big part of that origin story is his mentor, the brilliant and talented Anjali Bhimani. Yeah. Star of stage, big screen, small screen, and no screen.
Nice.
Hey-o. I got jokes all night. Thank you.
When do they start?
I was going to have a joke for that, but I don't. You may know her from television's Miss Marvel as Auntie Ruby, or as Dr. Ashmani from the television series Dead to Me. Or you might know her as the voice of Symmetra in the Overwatch series. Woot! And the voice of Rampart in Apex Legends. But what I bet this group doesn't know is that Anjali has also been on Broadway. She was part of Mary Zimmerman's Metamorphoses and Andrew Lloyd Webber's Bombay Dreams, among other things. And she plays many roles, you'll see what I did there, in the hugely popular Dungeons & Dragons live-action role-play universe. Anjali Bhimani, what a delight to have you here with us tonight. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you, guys. You didn't mention, the kind of coolest part is that you may also know me from going to college with you.
Well, they may not also know.
I'm saying you.
I may also know Anjali because we studied theater together in college.
Yeah.
So I knew Anjali as a theater actor and have followed her career from afar from the wild, wild Midwest of Madison, Wisconsin. And we learned first how to be actors together. We have the same acting teacher, Mary Poole, who we've also had on the podcast.
Did you really?
We did.
Oh, man.
Because Mary Poole also was acting teacher to Billy Eichner, actor Billy Eichner from Billy on the Street and other sorts of delightful films and television series. So we did have Mary on the show with Jamie Salka and Billy Eichner.
Oh, my goodness.
So if you like what you hear, go back and listen. Check out our acting teacher, Mary Poole.
She's the greatest. You must listen to that.
She is the greatest. It's true. But let's turn our attention, Alec, to the reasons that we're here today.
Okay. That sounds like a cue for me.
Yes,
if I ever
banter
heard
over
one.
here.
Okay. So we're gonna start here with some basics because I know that there is a pretty sharp wall between those who consume media. You listen, you watch, you enjoy, and then there's like those people out there that do that thing, and like she does that thing, and he wants to do that thing, and we do that thing. But we're gonna throw out a lot of words today of like things that we do, weird words that we use in this business, just like in all businesses, has their strange little language. So let's start really basic. What is a voice actor, and is that the right way to call what you are doing now on top of all the other things that you do?
I love that question. So people often talk about voiceover as voice acting, and that the people who do it are voice actors. But in recent years, and it's not that recent, we do so much more than just act with our voice. Voice acting is acting. You just happen to be only hearing the voice, but so many people who are considered voice actors are also doing performance capture, doing motion capture. Have any of you guys played Baldur's Gate 3, the game Baldur's Gate 3? Well, I know you have. That cast spent more time on the performance capture stage than they spent doing the audio and the voice lines. But people still will say, "Oh, you're a voice actor." So we, performer, actor, voice artist, some people like to say. So yeah, I think that's the way to do it.
And just to focus on the voice for a second here. I know I also live and work in Los Angeles, and a lot of my friends who are voice performer, actor, artists do a lot of their work from their closets.
Yes.
In a post-COVID world.
Yes.
Is that so? But prior to that, I worked on some animation shows. You have people come into the studio and they read their script, and it's the most fun day they could possibly have, and they're just going wild in the studio. And now they just walk from their bed into their little room, to little box, and do it. How do you do your work these days?
I do a little bit of both. During lockdown, we couldn't leave the house. So I'm very lucky because my husband, well, first of all, my husband is my husband, so I'm very lucky, but, cause he's awesome. But because he and I are both musicians as well, we have a little music studio and already had turned our walk-in closet in one of the bedrooms into an actual all set up for singing studio. Because we'd cut tracks in there and stuff. So when the pandemic hit and lockdown hit, that became the place that I would record all of my sessions from for games, for animation, for all of it. And at the same time, a lot of people had to learn how to do that from home, how to be their own sound engineer. So yeah, you can absolutely do it from a closet. You can do it. I recorded an entire video game in a hotel room when I was shooting Ms. Marvel. I was also recording a video game, and I recorded the whole game in a pillow fort that I had created, because you want to use clothes or some kind of heavy fabric to dampen the sound, which is why closets are great, because you can just like have your clothes all around you. But I recorded an entire game from there. So it can absolutely be done. And you don't have to have a gazillion dollars worth of equipment either. It's nice, but you don't have to. Yeah.
So, Owyn, I want to bring you into the conversation here. One of my favorite questions to ask guests is for their meet cute. So to find out the first time the two of you remember working together, or the first time that you entered into some kind of, mentor-mentee or collaborative relationship. And it's okay if it's not the same story. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is. So how did you first start working with Anjali?
Well, could I start off by saying something?
Of course.
I am low-key freaking out right now because I am so nervous. Like, even my watch just went off and was like, bro, are you good? Like, your heart rate's kind of...
in fairness, I have to tell you guys. So I didn't spring this on Owyn so much as he didn't know that he was going to be on stage today.
Pro tip,
He
read your
knew-
emails.
Yeah. So this is a surprise, and so thank you.
Also, for listeners, Owyn is not moving. So the fact that his watch is telling him to slow down is particularly alarming. I'm glad you're okay.
But the thing is, even though I am nervous, someone once told me, and someone being Anjali, that nervousness is just you being really excited and not really knowing how to contain that. So I just wanted to say I am very excited to be here, and I'm excited that you are all here to come listen to us, share our stories with you, and that you took the time to do that. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Clap it up.
I met Anjali online during COVID. That was when a lot of people were playing Overwatch, and a lot of people were calling her by her character name, Symmetra. And me having been a fan of the cast for a while at that time already, I was thinking, they're a lot more than their characters. They've done so much. Let me just show people what they've been doing. So I made a fan account for Anjali. I was showing like all the Broadway stuff she had done, all the shows she'd done, and other things she was doing. So she sends me a DM thinking that I'm someone else because someone else was also doing that at the time. So I literally dropped my phone because I'm like, why is the voice of Symmetra DMing me? I don't know what to do here. But I'm just thinking to myself, do not mess this up. Do not mess this up. Don't be weird. I'm low-key weird. I'm just saying. So I told her, hey, I'm not who you're looking for, but I will point you in that direction because I do know who she is. She was another friend of mine, but we just kind of stayed in touch. And then years later, I am on this stage talking to you all.
Yeah.
We also did, what was it? You had your I Am Fun Size series.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And I think that might have been the first time we met in person.
Was that before the Grove? Probably.
Because she invited me to her house, first of all.
That sounds so wrong. Okay.
That's where we recorded the video.
Thank you.
I'm sitting there just
What video did you record?
Yeah, exactly. That still sounds wrong.
It was for her I Am Fun Size series where she talks about basically, would you say living life to the fullest?
Yeah. And like stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she has the camera and I am sitting there. And if you were to ever see that video, I'm kind of a rock the whole time because it was my first time being in front of a camera. And I'm like, what do I do with my hands? Do I do what? But that was the first time we met. And she's just always made me feel really comfortable, really accepted. And she's honestly made me feel like, hey, the things that you want to do, you can do them. They're possible. This is how we make that happen. So I made a huge decision and said, you know what? 12 years of the Navy sounds good enough. I think I'm going to be a voice actor. And I got out and I've been working toward that ever since. And it's been quite a journey, I'd say. Yes, actually.
The question was, just for the recording, what games you voice acted in so far?
I have not been in a game yet. I am at the point where I have made my demos. I am submitting to agencies, and I am waiting to hear back to see what they say.
Which is 90% of the job.
Yes, it really is. 90% of the job is auditioning for things, whether it be through an agency or a casting website or someone's indie project that they posted online and they're looking for someone. That's what most of it is. Yeah.
So Anjali, let's now way back up, because we see someone at the beginning of their career. If we were to see you at the beginning of yours, we're at the Comic-Con here-ish. your superhero origin story.
My origin story. Wow. Okay. I will start with this. I did the school play when I was 7 years old.
Yes.
I played the Billy Goat in the Billy Goat's Gruff.
Oh,
I was
lead role.
excellent. I was very proud of myself. But 1 year after that, I also started playing a game called Dungeons and Dragons. Now, put a pin in that because it's going to matter later. So through the school play, I was like, oh, I really love doing this. So I'm just going to keep doing it. And all my book reports and anything that I had to do where I had to speak in front of the class started to look a little bit like acting, including my autobiography of Mahatma Gandhi, where I came into class with the bald cap and the glasses and the dhoti wrapped around. Yeah, there are pictures. It's amazing. I'm very proud of that. Very proud of that. But I started doing theater in school, and then I started doing community theater out of school. And so I was basically going from a full day of classes into whatever rehearsal for the school play was, and then driving to rehearsal for the community theater that I was working at, and then doing my homework after that. So I was a little bit nuts, but it was just something I cared so much about, and I really wanted to spend a lot of time doing it. And then in high school, I figured out that it was actually an option as a career, which I sort of hadn't clocked yet. I hadn't clocked that this was a thing that people can do for a living. And I firmly believed that success just means I'm making a living doing what I love. So I started doing theater. I went to school for theater with Erica at Northwestern. And then when I graduated, the first show I did was with a director named Mary Zimmerman, who I then went on to do 18 shows with since I've met her.
That's a good lesson of when you find your people, it's a good idea to stick with them.
Yeah.
So folks who you connect with right out of the gate, always good.
And Mary is exceptional because... and this is also, put a pin in this, Mary writes her show as you are in the rehearsal process. She usually works off of source material. So she's writing for who she sees you to be. She's not writing because she cast you as a role and you're going to play that role. Sometimes it is, a little bit. But she's really writing for the person you are. What does your voice sound like? How do you move? Do you look young? Do you look old? What background do you come from? But not necessarily... in terms of, I'm South Asian, I'm Indian, but she didn't use that as a reason to only cast me as Indian characters. That was just a part of who I am. It was just one more thing that defined my physicality or my point of reference. So I went on to do a lot of theater with Mary, and one of the shows that we did in Chicago then moved off Broadway and then on Broadway, which was a show called Metamorphoses. I stayed in New York after that from Chicago, and I started doing television when I was in New York. Did Law & Order SVU, the Law & Order series, which is also, I call it jury duty for actors, because if you stay in New York long enough, you will be on one of those series. You will do it. It's just a matter of endurance. And did The Sopranos, did some other stuff. And then I started going back and forth between New York and LA to do TV and also traveling for theater. And then I stayed put in LA in 2010. Kept doing TV, kept doing theater, kept doing whatever they would let me do that was legal. And I, around 2015, my agents started sending me out on voiceover auditions. And the second job I booked was a big game called Overwatch, which then turned into kind of a global sensation. So games became a big part of my life, both making them and getting to play them again. And at the cast party for Overwatch, I met two lovely people, Matthew Mercer and Marisha Ray, who told me about a little show that they were doing called Critical Role, that was them playing D&D with their quote-unquote nerdy-ass voice actors. And I was, just like, oh, I miss playing D&D. That's really fun. So Marisha had then sent me to a company called Geek and Sundry that they worked at. That was where Critical Role was. And she said, they're doing this show. You would probably really enjoy it. And thus began the next branch of the acting tree, which is called actual play, tabletop actual play. So what this is basically people playing these role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons, but there are many more, but playing them either in front of an audience or for a streaming audience. So you are both playing the game and then alternately from being yourself, you are also playing the character in the game. And it's a bigger industry than many people realize. Critical Role sold out Wembley Stadium. Sold out Wembley Arena, sorry. They sold out Wembley Arena. They tour the world with it.
How many seats is that at Wembley Arena?
Wembley, I think, is it's many thousands.
Okay.
I know that. I know in Australia, they did a 12,000-seater. They're going to do the O2, which is 20,000 soon. A group called Dimension 20 sold out Madison Square Garden. So this is a really very, very popular thing.
I'm sorry. I see a lot of heads nodding of people who I know are over 40 years old, and I cannot believe you know what she's talking about. What?
Yeah. So Dungeons & Dragons is basically as old as we are.
That one I know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
now people watch you play it?
Yes. But here's part of the reason. So think about this.
What?
Think about a bunch
Why?
Think about a bunch of people
No.
improvising, a bunch of people who believe in storytelling and are excellent storytellers from any angle. They could be writers, they could be actors, they could be vocal performers, they could be anything. But story is their jam, right?
Sure.
So imagine a game where you are telling an improvised story,
Right.
where instead of having an audience member be like, "Oh, you're shooting a porno at a laundromat," they say, I'm going to tell you what I want to do, and then I'm going to roll some dice to see how well I do it. And then you have to improvise that scene.
Okay. I guess I was picturing like Sorry or Shoots and Ladders.
No.
No.
There are shows that do that, but they're more instructional.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. Amazing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because if you know Dungeons & Dragons, you know that it's a role-playing
Yes.
game.
Right.
So you're playing
Yes.
roles as you play.
And 20,000 people are in an arena
Yeah.
watching them do this.
Okay.
It is a huge system of fandom and
Right.
interest.
I guess it goes along with the, what's it called when you watch people play video games on the computer thing?
It's streaming, it's Twitch.
Those things.
Yeah.
Cool.
It does, except the difference here is that when people are streaming video games, they're not necessarily playing the role that they are playing in the
Right.
actual play stuff. So it does involve acting. It involves storytelling. It involves improvisation, improvising those stories. It involves deeply jumping into a character and knowing what their thought process
Yeah.
might be. And honestly, it's some of the most fulfilling acting that I've ever gotten to do in my life.
Amazing.
Because you are the actor and the writer's room at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
So that came into my world at the same time. Plus, I started the web series, I Am Fun Size, which was like my love letter to the gaming community. That's the one that Owyn was on. I wrote a book called I Am Fun Size and So Are You. And that was a bestseller, which we're happy about. Then I started producing. And then, what am I missing? Owyn, help me. I know there's more.
And you were a guest on a podcast.
No, yes, I was a guest on a podcast, but there was something that I really wanted. Oh, the 20-Sided Tavern. Okay, so what's
Yes.
really cool now is that because I have gotten to do all of these different work in all of these different media, now a lot of the projects I'm doing are crossing those streams. So there's a show called The 20-Sided Tavern that I got to be a guest star on, and it was off Broadway. And it basically took that tabletop role-playing game experience, but had the actors on stage physically performing everything, and the audience would participate by getting to participate through a platform on their mobile phones. So it was live theater, but we were also playing the game. It was wonderful. It had a national tour, all sorts of wonderful things. And then recently we did a sort of a television show called Tales from Wood Creek that was as if you combined D&D with an escape room or like The Traders. And we went into these old like these you guys know like colonial Williamsburg, imagine that but the Canadian version. So we would go into these homes that were like historical homes, and then there were practical items that we would open or puzzles or things that we would get our hands on, and we'd hear noises and we'd run up the stairs. And so it was that was a really cool crossing of the streams as well. I'm sure there's more.
I mean, you just had an incredible career. It's amazing to listen.
We were just talking
to you.
about this, right? Our friend Heath Corson, who's also a new Wildcat, go Cats,
Go Cats.
He's in the house, and we were just talking about, and Heath brought this up. I got to give credit where it's due. He said, you don't really think about your career, you look back on a career, because a career is a journey. But usually where we are is just looking for the next thing and working towards the next thing. And then you get to look back and say, oh, look at all the stuff I've gotten to do. That's pretty cool.
Well, and I want to go back to something that y'all said earlier about how 90% of this work is
Trying to get the work. That's the thing. This is the only career that I know of, I'm performing in general, is the only career I know of where the reward is getting to do the job.
That's I love that. I mean,
Plot twist.
Plot twist.
Plot twist, indeed.
The thing it reminds me of, which we talk about a lot on this show, is the idea that failure in the arts, particularly in these spaces, is not a lack of learning to do something.
No, it's actually vital. In fact, it's one of the lessons that Mary Poole gave me my senior year. I was it my senior year? It might have been junior year. I was, look, I'm Indian, so I was a straight A student. That just kind of goes with the blood. But there was one quarter where she gave me an A-, and I panicked. And I went to her office, and I was like, Mary, what did I do wrong? What did I get? And she was like, oh, you just weren't as good. You didn't grab onto it as well as you've grabbed onto everything else. And then she turned to me and she said, Anjali, I need you to fail more. I need you need to fail more so you know it's okay. Take the risk. Jump off the cliff, all of those things. And at the time I was like, what? I can't fail. This is awful. But now I fully understand that because so much of what we do and so much of what I've done in my career was the first time I've ever done something. And so just knowing that I might get up and suck at something. I mean, I'm not going to fully suck because when you're training and you're getting better, your worst gets better too. So
also, not getting picked doesn't mean that you're bad.
Yes.
It just means that there's 10 of you they really like, but they only have one slot.
Yeah.
So
well,
very much so.
And it's a great. I'm sorry for all the educators in the room about what I'm about to say, but I say this often. It's a great problem with schooling that school frames failure as a lack of learning to do something, right? So you take a class and then you have the assessment at the end. It's a test or it's a project or whatever. And then you get some sort of evaluation that is supposed to reflect, quote unquote, how good you did at it. And a thing about art making and a thing that these folks are talking about in their careers that I think can be so important for the way we do learning and the way we do schooling is to think about those moments, not as a lack of learning to do something, but as a point in the process where we can then continue on in development, continue on, try the same thing again, or say, well, that didn't work for me. Yeah. I need to think about this differently. How do I think about this differently? How does this skill or habit of mind that somebody has said is important, how do I figure out how to make that work for me?
The most important thing that I learned at Northwestern was how I learn. But in high school, in grade school and all of that, I guarantee I know for sure, 100%, without a doubt, the only reason I was a straight A student was not because I was brilliant at everything. It was because I was a good test taker. And there's so many people who are not good test takers, but are brilliant. And who understand what they're learning, and just the test is not their strong suit.
I think there's something else about working in the arts that is difficult, painful, and then ultimately wonderful, which is not only do you, let's use the word fail, not only do you not achieve the thing you are going for in the moment. I'm auditioning for a show, I don't get it. I've written a script, no one wants to make it, something like that. Okay, that's your first hurdle that you have to go, yeah, that's fine. I'm not in control of whether or not you like my stuff or not. But even more important, and I think once I cross maybe the 45-year-old line or so, is when you go, oh, not only that, it's when I actually get to do the thing that I want to do, I also don't care what you all think of it. I also am not going to judge its success on someone else's. Just like the fact that you didn't like my script doesn't mean I didn't do a good job writing it or I don't feel it's successful and so I couldn't make it. But even after I've made it, and we live in a culture where, of course, with the old internet machine, everyone is a critic immediately. Everyone has, I liked, I didn't like it, thumbs up, thumbs down. But we don't do that when an accountant finishes their spreadsheets, right? They finish their work and they don't all of a sudden get thumbs up or thumbs down on that. There's so much that doesn't get reviewed. But when you put art out into the world, you do put yourself out there and it's going to happen where people are going to like it or not like it. The the goal is to go, that doesn't matter to me in terms of its success, right? It's I know it was successful or not based on my own rubric, which is a tough one to get to.
It's so tough. I talk about it all the time, but I admit that I am not great at this. Enjoying the process of creating the thing is so important, because if you're only working on what are they going to think, 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 really you're making it about yourself. You're making it all about you and people's opinion of you, rather than saying, I need to be of service. How am I going to create something special that might make a difference, might make people laugh, makes me laugh? How am I going to do that? How am I going to create something that's never been created before because it's mine? I'm part of it, right? And I think that makes a big difference as actors, is to remember it's a service industry. It's not about you in the best way. It's not about you. Rejection isn't rejection. It was just you didn't get picked for this thing. But if you booked, we say book the room. If you did a great job and you impressed the casting director and you're not right for this job, they will remember you. You will go back in for them. If you took a class, and this happened with you. If you take a class with a casting director and you do a great job, they will remember you. They're not beholden to casting you, but they will remember, which means at some point something may come up, and often has, that they will cast you as, or someone will write something for you. And so there's two separate parts. There's the sort of commercial success of something, and then there's the artistic success. And they are not mutually exclusive, but they don't go hand in hand.
Right. That's happened to me a lot, actually, where even though I didn't get whatever I was trying to get, I still left such an impression on the people who were there that it opened up other doors for me and such.
Owyn, how did you get from, I was sitting, I connected with Anjali and I was sitting helping her make this web series, to like, I want to be a voiceover actor. Like, how did you, that's a particularly big shift in your path, in your life path. How did you make that decision?
It seems a bit silly, but it honestly started by playing the game Overwatch.
That must be awesome to hear.
It doesn't sound silly at all either. There's a lot of people's story that they were inspired by something they were doing at the time or watching at the time.
Yeah, let's see, how did this happen? A coworker of mine was convincing me to try to play this game I'm sure you're all familiar with, Overwatch. And I was absolutely uninterested. I did not want to play the game at all. Did not care. Get it out of my face. He asked me why, and I told him that playing offline games are more fun, because when you're playing offline and with your friends, it's all good. And then when you play online, you get stomped on by a 12-year-old with a stupid name like Booty Farts 22 or something. And I don't feel like having that happen to me. I'd rather just stay over here. Eventually, he convinced me to play the game. And I had to make an account to play the game. And I had to make a name. So I named myself Booty Farts 22.
Yeah, you did.
Little did I know that was going to change the entire trajectory of my life.
His nickname with us is Booty or Boots because of it. That's for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot of people who, a lot of cast members of Overwatch that call me either Booty or Boots because of that. But just I had that name, and then I played the game, and then I fell in love with the game, and I fell in love with the art and the people who made it and the cast. Oh my goodness, how did they do this? Next thing I know, I'm like, yeah, I think I want to be a voice actor, but I'm not sure how. But then I, met Anjali. She kind of gave me the rundown, and I said, you know what? Yeah, I think this is something I could probably do. It didn't feel like, this is just a passing thing or a phase or whatever. It's like, for the first time in my life, I feel like I know what I'm supposed to be doing, kind of thing. I don't know. Can anyone here relate to that? But yeah, so it took a few years to make the decision, but yeah, I pretty much dropped everything and started pursuing that. And
You were so smart about it, though. And I think part of this, I mean, your work ethic, obviously you were in the Navy, your work ethic is ridiculously good.
I was super lazy in the Navy. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I'm like, nice try. I know better. But he treated it the same way I treated being an actor once I realized, oh, you're allowed to do this. So treat it like a real job. Learn how to do it really, really well. Figure out, learn as much about it as you can before you just jump off a cliff. And so you began that studying process and us talking before you left the Navy, so that when you felt that, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you felt that no, I know this is the thing I want to do, you had that experience underneath you already.
It was it wasn't immediate or sudden. It was 4 years before I made that decision. So I don't want you to think I just said, hey, this is fun, and then dropped my entire career.
Please don't say you left the Navy because of Overwatch. Please don't do that to us. We don't need that kind of publicity.
But Anjali, what made you then decide to kind of take Owyn on? I don't know if that's the right phrase, but take him under your wings.
It's such a silly term.
It is silly.
It's funny, and this is one of the reasons why I don't love the term mentor-mentee.
Yeah, great.
Because I have found that being in a position which other people would call a mentor is really just being like, what do you want to do and how do we get it? How can I help you get what you want? How can I help you do the thing you want? And sharing my experience, which is what I Am Fun Size was all about, is just sharing your experience. It's not telling you this is what you have to do. None of us have any business telling everybody else what to do in their lives. But
I'm a teacher, so I do it all the time.
But sharing your experience and things like that, I think that's really important. So there were several things that made me want to help Owyn. One is that, look at him. He's the loveliest, sweetest. His personality is so unassuming and so respectful. And I'll be honest, there were many people that would come to us along the way that it felt like the relationship was very transactional, that they definitely only wanted to connect with us because they wanted us to do something for them. And Owyn was never like that. Owyn shared that he wanted to learn about this, but he always treated us like normal people, like we are. And that level of respect, but also the respect for the craft, made it really exciting to be like, oh, I want to be in a studio with you. I want to work on a game with you. Let's get you in here so we can play together. Let's get you going. What do you need? How can we get it? So that for me has been a big part of it. It has been a big, big part of it. And again, that work ethic of yours is just so... A lot of people jump into the arts and forget that it is a craft, which means you have to work at it, which means you have to do hard things for long stretches of time. And a lot of people don't stick it out because they just don't have that work ethic.
I can picture doing voice work for a commercial, for an animated show, but I can't really picture what you're doing for a video game.
Wonderful. It's what a great question.
Can you take us into the booth?
I'm so glad you asked. Yes. So there are different kinds of video games, there are a bunch of different kinds of video games. But quite often what you are doing, whether you are doing animation or you are doing video games, is you are doing your lines either in a scene or in a game that will be triggered by someone else's actions, but you're doing them alone. You are not acting with the person that is going to be feeding you the lines or in the scene with you, and obviously you're not acting with the player who's triggering a particular activity. So you'll walk into the session, you'll walk into the booth, you will have a script that has just hundreds of lines on it. It's a spreadsheet, it has all the lines, it has a little description of what's happening at the same time, what's happening when you're saying this line, and maybe a little bit of emotional direction. And then you do 3 takes. The creative team huddles. They either ask you to do more or give you notes, give you more, or you move on to the next. So you're really cranking it out. And most voiceover sessions don't go over 4 hours just because of the limitations of the human voice. Some are much shorter, particularly the ones where we're screaming or doing battle cries or all of that kind of stuff.
Got to do those at the end.
Got to do those at the end. See? You've learned. I learned the hard way. Unfortunately, I learned the very hard way. I lost my voice and it took a long time to come back. Not that long, but it took a minute. So you're doing that. Sometimes you do get some reference of what it's going to look like. Or maybe they are further along in the process so they can show you a little bit of the animation for the video game. But that's about it when it comes to just doing the voiceover for video games. For performance capture, which basically means they are going to they're going to record your whole performance, your entire body, and they're going to do it in a space called the volume. The volume is a big open studio. Oh, am I boring you? No, I'm just kidding. I had to say that. I'm sorry. I have to. Sorry. I love him. I love you so much. I know. I'm sorry. That was rude. Now that I've been rude, I'm judging myself. Okay. So the volume. The volume is this open space, and there are hundreds of cameras all around. And you will come in wearing the most unflattering unitard. It's the great equalizer. Nobody looks good in it. With a bunch of sensors on it. You'll be wearing a camera that's hanging off the front of your head. And all those cameras around you and the camera in front of you are recording every movement from a tiny little facial tic to your physicality. And so even though sometimes that gets put under the umbrella of voice acting, that is a full performance. That's as close as you can get to combining theater and film together. And in video games especially, they do that because as they are rendering the art, and I know many of you in here are artists and potentially future animators or future game animators, so this might be interesting to you. As they're rendering the art, they need that reference. So you can actually see, once you're done recording in PCAP, you can see a 360 view of that person or the creature that they're playing as, because you're not limited to your own physicality, I don't have to be a petite Indian woman in video games. I can be a dragon, I can be a man, I can be a little boy, I can be all sorts of things. But my physicality has to match their physicality.
Before we go on, I just wanted to let folks know that we're going to have a few minutes for questions pretty soon. So if folks have questions for Anjali or Owyn or any of us, you can get those ready. Are we going to do Oprah style microphone? Yes. Great.
Are we going to do Oprah style? You get a car. You get a car.
I
want to
They giving out cars?
This is public education.
Oh, sorry.
Anjali,
Okay.
Settle down.
And you get a hug. And you get a hug.
That's right.
You get a hug.
Owen, have you ever seen any of this volume room stuff in action?
I have, yes. The last couple of years at Comic-Con, I've been helping her out. So I've seen her at the panels doing her thing.
And also, I think the thing that I did with Julia for the Times.
Yes.
So there is a dear friend of both of ours now. After he took a class with her, we became friends as well, named Julia Bianco Scheffling. She's a casting director and producer in video games. She's amazing. She's wonderful. And she and I did a piece for the LA Times about this very thing. And so there's video online of us showing someone how to work in the volume.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And is that something that you aspire to as well?
I would say yes, but not the performance capture thing. Because
That's what I was going to ask.
Like that, I'm not putting that on, if I'm being honest. I don't want to scare nobody. I'm
telling you, it's the great equalizer. I don't care if you're Chris Hemsworth. You're not going to look good in that suit.
I think we can take some questions if folks have questions. Great. It looks like first one down in front. Down in front. Here comes Danny's the Oprah tonight. Hi, Danny.
Question for Alek. What movies did you make?
Oh.
Fantastic question. There's a movie. The movie I'll point you to is called What, and it's a great example of you make a movie because you really want to make it. You make a thing because you really want to make it. So this is a black and white, silent feature film entirely with a deaf cast. So no one's asking for that, except for the people who literally asked me to make it for them. But it's just I'm fluent in sign language. I'm a sign language interpreter. I love silent films, and I decided to put it all together into a movie. So it's called What. You can check it out.
I like to call it What?
Well, yes.
Interesting.
Oh, another question down front here.
A question for Owyn. Who is your favorite character in Overwatch?
I'm going to be honest. They're the characters I love to play and the characters that I'm actually good at. I like to play Farah and Junkrat because I can't aim and I only got one brain cell. So I just stick to them because, I might get some collateral damage off of Thank you. Nice beanie, by the way.
Sorry, I interrupted you. I'm gonna drop in a little nerd bomb, which I like to do sometimes as the educator, kind of hearing artists tell their stories of how they've become successful and how they've become artists, and to kind of pull in ideas from education to help us understand what that looks like. And something I can't help thinking about is we have this idea in kind of progressive education, meaning like new ways of thinking about learning, so we used to think that people were empty vessels, right? That you like the metaphor we would use is that your head is empty. And when you learn new things, somebody comes and pours it in your head, right? And taking a class is about pouring that new knowledge in your head. And you know you've learned something when that empty vessel has been filled. Well, that turns out to not really be a good metaphor for learning. And in fact, learning is a lot more like a sticky web. So you can the metaphor I would like to use is inside your head, there's this sticky web. And that sticky web has all of the stuff, your history as a person, all of the things you love, all of we would call them cultural assets is kind of the fancy word for it, but it basically just means all the things you know and love, whether those are from your family or from pop culture or from, your time living in working and living in a particular place. And to be a good learner means to be able to connect the things you already have with the new things in the space. And for me, your story, Owyn, is so much a story of how the cultural assets that you acquired first as a player and then as a fan and now as an artist have allowed all of that to kind of stick on to itself.
Also, your experience in the Navy, which will absolutely serve him as he moves on and does a lot of these war games or a lot of, Call of Duty or whatever. There are a lot of games where that point of reference, there's nothing you can learn in the world that won't help you as an actor, won't help you as an artist.
Actually, did something like that. We were doing a military call-outs workshop. Yep. And the two people running the class, they kind of looked at me. They're like, "You're a little too good at this. What's going on here?" So I told them I was in the Navy because I was active duty at the time. So they're like, "Oh, so then why don't you run the class?" And I had to run the class for like 20 minutes.
Whoa.
Yes.
But how awesome is that? How awesome is it to get to learn from the person who has the actual experience of something?
Mm-hmm. And one of the things Anjali and I were talking about off mic, too, is how the power of making art, first of all, making art that you really care about, but also we were talking about Mary Zimmerman, right? And making stories that aren't just like, hey, this is the story and you're going to fit in because you're a South Asian woman and therefore you're going to play the role of South Asian woman, right? But instead, making the story at the intersection of who you are as an artist and what that story wants to be.
Absolutely.
And I wonder whether this space, and we talked a little bit about this in the workshop today, that like one of the beauties of characters like video game characters is they don't have assumptions about culture built into them. You look at a character and you don't know, is this supposed to be an Indian American woman? Is this supposed to be a tiny Jewish lady? What is this supposed to be? And so it opens up the space for you.
Well, I will point again to Overwatch as one of the exceptional examples of this. How do I say this? Sometimes I feel like the DEI movement has done a disservice to people because it is focusing specifically on one of their identities, whether LGBTQ, their cultural background, their abilities. But we all live at the intersection of those things. We are more than one thing, right? And Overwatch introduced these characters that were complex. And it wasn't just, this is the Indian one, this is the Asian one, this is the Latin one. It was, this is a woman in STEM. This is an amputee. She is South Asian. She is on the spectrum, which they didn't announce until well into the game being out, because they wanted people to know the person, the character. And so the great thing about that is when you create art that is about complex people, people see themselves, they see the world they know. And when you are playing a game as a hero that you identify with, you identify that hero in yourself and you take that out in the world. And you are able to have a little more empowerment because you have felt what it feels like to be a hero in yourself. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's one of the ways that games make such a difference in the world that other media can't, because you guys have ownership over those stories and those characters. You decide how it goes. You decide how you play. You decide what they do. And that's so exciting as a human being to be a part of telling the story, because we're all telling our own stories. Right?
And you've been really articulate, I feel like, in this conversation about how telling stories is the art form. Right? We might say, oh, you're on Broadway or you're in a video game, but really the art form is telling stories and using all these different tools to tell stories.
Absolutely.
Quick show of hands. Any other questions before yes. All right. Do we have it? Yes. Oprah, Danny Oprah. Thank you. Last question from our audience. Oh, 2 more questions. Got you.
For Owyn, if you had a chance to voice any character from any franchise, show, or game, who would you want to voice?
Great question.
I mean, it's kind of on the nose for me to say this, but I would absolutely love to voice a playable character in Overwatch. That would mean a lot to me. Whether they be a human or even an Omnic, that would be, that it's. I don't know if this is like silly or anything, but in my voice acting setup at home, I actually, because I've been doing like audio engineering and music for a long time, so I figured out how to recreate the Omnic vocal effect at home. So sometimes when I'm just bored, I'll mess around with it and be like, oh, I'm an Omnic, whatever. But
tell our listeners what that means.
In Omnic, in Overwatch, they are I don't want to say they're robots. They're like robots who have gained sentience. And they have their own lives, cultures, all sorts of things. And they're also kind of like an oppressed group in that world. So I think that would be interesting to play that role.
Did you just throw in with 2 minutes to go that you're also an audio engineer and producer?
The work ethic.
Low-key an audio engineer? If you put me in front of a DAW, I can work it.
I mean, it is amazing how many skills you're actually throwing together to do this. It was inevitable that you were going to be a voiceover.
In some ways, yes.
I think that's right.
Thank you for your question.
I think we had another question down the row.
Yes.
Yes?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
My question is for Owyn. What's your favorite voice that you played so far?
My favorite voice that I've done?
Yes.
That you've played.
And can you do the voice?
Yes.
Well, there are various voices I have that my family members love. My grandfather finds it particularly funny when I talk in this voice and I make fun of him and I'm like, just saying all sorts of things that he would say and how he would, in the manner that he would say it. But that's just, he likes that I make fun of him. My little nephew, he likes when I do this voice, but I don't like to do that one a lot because it's kind of straining on the throat. But I don't know. I've never done this before.
You're doing great.
Somebody's like, hey, share some of your voices, and I'm like, really? You want to hear what I do? Okay, but yeah, those are some that I like to do. Yeah.
Oh, yep. One more hand right here. Last question.
My question is for all of you guys. What's your favorite trilogy?
Oh my gosh, trilogy.
Mine's easy. I love His Dark Materials trilogy.
Good one.
I read it as an adult. I didn't read it as a kid. And I remember being like in the dark, reading it with a tiny little light and not wanting it to end and having such an emotional reaction to a particular point in the end of the story, which if you've read it, you know which one I'm talking about, where it still to this day will make me cry if I think about it. It's such a beautiful, beautiful series.
That's a great one.
You know what? I've never had to think about that before, but I'm probably going to have to go with Lord of the Rings, specifically the director's cut. Yeah.
You
Yeah,
gave the best answer, so now what I'm
And I
going to
also
say
was
is
doing
not
the
going to
book.
be.
I was doing
Yeah.
a book trilogy. I wasn't doing a TV trilogy.
There's a series called Discovery of Witches, which is a little more grown uppy. It's like a little bit more, little bit more witches and vampires.
Little Twilighty.
Yeah, Twilighty for grown-ups. It's, academic. So I'm a nerd. I work at a university. I love books about people who work at universities. These are witches and vampires who work at universities.
Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Thank you. What are their problems?
Hey, look, I went with a book. I didn't know we were going with movies and TV. I went with the first thing I thought of.
All right, quick follow-up. Gonna follow up and ask what a trilogy is. Trilogy just means 3 of something, but actually I feel like we've extended that universe has gotten extended to more like a series, right? Like a recurring series, although I feel like without being an expert in it, a lot of those things come, like trilogy is the most common, right?
Yeah,
That there's
I think
there's
so.
3. So before we finish, I'm gonna put y'all on the spot one more time. You're an improviser, so this will be easy for you.
Oh.
This is a game that Alec and I always use to close out our show. It's called 3 Things. I'm gonna ask you a question. I will ask you both the same question, and that way you could do it together. And you are gonna give me 3 different answers to that question. And every time you give an answer, the audience is gonna shout the number. So you're gonna give one answer, and the audience is gonna say 1. And then another answer, it's gonna say 2. And then at the end, you say 3 things.
So we should come up with 3 between us or 3 each?
Total, I think, is fine,
Okay,
so that there's not too much pressure.
Fair.
So, Anjali and Owyn, give me, what are 3 titles of video games that have not yet been made that you would like to make and be in the future?
Okay, so here's the thing. A lot of video games have a 3-part title, like the something of something.
Okay.
So I feel like we start with one noun and then we come up with a name.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we're gonna
Improv.
have a name.
Okay.
So let's shadows.
This guy, Beanie. Beanie's gonna be one of the words.
Okay.
Yes, you.
Okay. Beanies of.
Beanies of babies? I don't know.
What?
Okay.
Beanies of
So here's what
babies.
this game is about. Here we go. Yeah, no, this is
you
great.
got this.
This is great. This is either a mobile game or just a cozy game.
Yeah.
If it's a cozy game, it
Yes.
means like Stardew Valley, where you go and you play
Okay,
and you
okay,
make
I
a
see what we're
farm.
doing here.
In this one, you raise little kids and you make sure, like, you crochet
You
them
make sure
beanies.
their heads are warm.
Yeah, this is a very cozy game. I'm here for this one.
That's one.
No, it's got a
done,
cold
you.
head.
Well done. Okay, now there are some that are only one word, like Avowed or Overwatch.
Yes.
The original Fallout. So let's come up with a word.
I have one.
Go.
Died. Like, wait, hold on.
Dude.
Like hair dyed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
I'm getting my inspiration from the audience.
I like it.
All right, the
I like
Beanies
the
of
double
Babies.
meaning there.
The Beanies of Babies and Died. What is the third system for naming a video game?
I would say word, colon,
Nice.
explanation.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
That's like an academic
DLC.
that's like an
a
academic
DLC
article. We
situation,
do that
downloadable
too.
content.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna say Firewalker, colon.
Firewalker, colon.
The Heat of the Dam.
I was going to say a tale of laughter.
Right.
3 things. Thank you all so much. Owyn, Anjali, thank you for being with us. Audience, thank you. We like to say on our show, onward together. Thank you so much.
you all.
Thank you guys.
Arts Educators Save the World is hosted by Erica Rosenfeld Halverson and produced and co-hosted by me, Alek Lev. Our executive producer is Doug Matica, and our audio producer is Justin Asher. Special thanks to our collaborators, the brilliant and talented Kate Baldwin, and our great friends at Story Pirate Studios, Lee Overtree, Benjamin Salka, and Amy Fiore. Original music is by Dan Lipton, and our artwork is by Lyra Evans. Check out our website designed by Cole Locasio at www.artseducatorspodcast.com. We're on Instagram at Arts Educators Podcast, and you can write to us with your questions and comments at contact@artseducatorspodcast.com. You can also find us at a place called YouTube. And wherever you're listening, please remember to subscribe, rate, and review. It really helps the show. We're proud to be sponsored in part by the University of Wisconsin-Madison and the Gibb Faculty Fellowship. Arts Educators Save the World was created by Erica Rosenfeld Halverson and Alek Lev.